This is the worst breakfast we've ever made. This is terrible.
Hey, what's up everyone? James from Junkyard Fox. Thank you so much for joining me. And today we got ourselves a good old-fashioned knife review. Today we're taking a look at this blade right here. This is the PKS Scorpion, designed by Dave Canterbury and his line of knives, Pathfinder Knife Shop. So, as always, we're going to talk about it. We're going to put it through its paces. And stay tuned to the very end because one lucky viewer is going to be winning this very knife. So thank you for joining me. Let's get started. Okay folks, so before we commence testing, let's go ahead and get the specs out of the way. Don't mind a little bit of this beautiful desert rain falling right now. Now this is made by Pathfinder Knife Shop, as I mentioned earlier. You can see their logo right at the base of the blade, right there. Made in America, 1095 high carbon steel with the blued finish, at least this one is. Scandinavian grind, 90-degree spine, 1/8 inch thick, 9 inches overall in length. This handle has micarta, although you can select different types of handles such as curly maple wood. So as you can tell, it's a very conservative, traditional Puukko style blade. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel and be experimental. It's just a very classic style woodworking knife. I would say this is probably Dave's answer to the Mora Bushcraft Black, a knife that he very often recommends to beginners, but it's not full tang. This one takes care of that. Being a full tang blade, it's also a little nicer. Being American made and handcrafted, it's going to be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So being a traditional knife with the Scandinavian grind, that's what we're going to be doing, traditional woodcraft. So I did gather a couple of yucca stalks, and we're going to be using the blade to carve a figure 4 deadfall trap, and then using the back 90-degree spine to get a fire going, and hopefully the trap procures us some breakfast. So let's get to it. Now, as you can tell, the Scorpion was able to carve this figure 4 beautifully. Now, the figure 4 deadfall trap is not a particularly complex trap, but it does take some time, some practice to get the angles just right and all the notches. And as you can tell, this thing worked beautifully. Now, this is just meant to be a knife review, so if you're looking for a step-by-step guide on how to make a figure 4 deadfall, I will place our link to that video up above right here. With that being said, just a quick summary. I did place peanut butter and birdseed as bait because we're aiming for rabbits or pack rats, kangaroo rats, small rodents in this region. I also placed rocks and sticks. I just placed debris on the corners. That way the creature comes in from one direction. And also I did sprinkle a little bit of seeds on the floor here just to entice them to enter through here and go for the bait. And there we go. So far so good. The PKS did great at notching and whittling. And we will be back in a couple of hours before sunset. See if we got ourselves some breakfast. All right, so it's been a few hours. Time to check our trap. So it's been triggered. Nothing. Didn't catch anything, sadly. In fact, I'm not sure where the other 2 sticks went. That's interesting. Well, as you saw, sadly, we were not able to procure some game. I was hoping to capture a rabbit, a small rabbit, or a ground squirrel, something along those lines. But the reality when it comes to hunting and trapping and fishing is it's not a guarantee. A lot of luck is involved. With that being said, I'm a show don't tell kind of guy, so I'd much rather have shown the PKS Scorpion in action. I have processed a lot of game using very similar knife designs, similar size dimensions, such as the Mora Bushcraft Black, the Mora Garberg, both the stainless and the carbon, and a couple of LT Wrights, high carbon steel, Scandinavian grind, 1/8 inch thick blades, and they process game just fine. So there's not a doubt in my mind this PKS Scorpion would have done fantastic. Not my main choice when it comes to skinning game, but in a pinch, it would have worked just fine. Anyway, the show must go on. So let's go ahead and move to the next test, and that's going to be making a 1-stick fire. Yeah, very weak 90-degree spine on this thing. Now, it does have a 90-degree spine. I've had this knife since February, so I'd say about 9 months. And I've never had to strike a ferro rod with it before. And now that I'm trying, it's a very lacking spine. So I'm going to go ahead and call that a fail. It's done outstanding in everything else so far, but that spine is pretty weak. So I'm just going to get my other knife that I have on my belt, my snake eater. And let's get this fire going so we can cook up some breakfast. Now, just like with game processing, it wouldn't be my first choice to use a Scandinavian knife for slicing. I would rather use my Snake Eater or a Green River knife. But once again, I like to get knives out of their comfort zone, and I have a thing called the potato test, how well does it slice potatoes? So let's go ahead and get to doing that. All right, these are taking way too long to cook up. This is the first time we ever cook them like this. We're just being experimental and improvising with the situation since we didn't catch game. So we're just gonna place them right on the coal, see if maybe that'll help spur them on. All right, so this was just improvising hour. I didn't have any olive oil on my vehicle because olive oil will go rancid in the heat. So I didn't have that on me, and we're just improvising. Let's see how this comes out. I think it'd be much better if I had let it cook for another like 15 minutes. Yeah. The outside edges taste good, but the middle part's still not quite done yet. I think this is a good idea for improvising your own kebabs. But yeah, I would like to drizzle some olive oil on there. Let's try this one. This one's nice and thin. This is the worst breakfast we've ever made. This is terrible. Oh my God. I would have rather eaten a rat than these potatoes. Oh, goddamn. So this was terrible. This was an absolute fail. Now, that's part of adventure, that's part of improvising. Sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. This one definitely did not. So we already ate the sausages. We're going to leave these behind, and we're going to make our way down to the city and stop at an IHOP. With that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the PKS Scorpion and my final thoughts on this blade. As you saw at the beginning, it was able to do some carving, some whittling, some notching. It did the figure 4 deadfall very well. It did very well. As for the one stick fire, the batoning, the feather sticking, once again, very well. Now, we were using some pine, and pine kind of makes knives look really good because it's not a very antagonistic type of wood. It's not something you're going to struggle against. But overall, once again, you know, I've been using this for several months. This is going to be a good batoner, a good feather sticker. The one bad thing was the spine. Very weak spine, very rounded. Now, you can fix that yourself with the file, but it's going to mess with the aesthetics because that bluing is going to come right off back here. It's not the end of the world, but something to take, you know, into consideration. As far as the game processing, I cannot comfortably tell you whether, you know, it did great or not. I'm a show don't tell kind of guy, so I much rather have shown it. In fact, almost every single one of our knife reviews, we try to process game, whether it's designed to process it or not, because we like to get them out of their comfort zone if they're not. Unfortunately, we just weren't able to capture anything. However, if you can take my word for it, for whatever that's worth, we have processed other game with similar knives, similar size, similar shape, similar thickness, and all this stuff. For example, the Mora Garberg, both the stainless and the carbon. We have used some LT Wright knives, the Mora Bushcraft Black, and all of those worked great. Would they be my first choice for game processing? Probably not, to be honest. But in case, you know, this is the only thing you had, it's going to take care of it in a pinch. Overall, my thoughts on this blade is it's in the middle of the road. It's American made, runs you about $100. It's definitely superior to, say, something like a Condor in terms of quality, fit, and finish, but at the same time, it's also not gonna really compete against something like an LT Wright, for example. So something new that I want to try from this day going forward when it comes to knife reviews is I want to have several criteria, and I'm gonna rate them. I'm gonna rank them from 0 to 10, depending on, you know, 0 being terrible, 10 being the all-time best. So for the PKS Scorpion, for comfort, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Now, it's comfortable, fine, just enough, like, say, you're batoning, but after feather sticking for some time, it starts to feel uncomfortable. For example, I'm putting pressure on my palm. See if you could see the redness in my palm. Right there. I do think that this handle is quite too square. Not sure if it's showing, but yeah, this square right here, I don't know if it shows, but yeah, against the sides of your hand, after a while, you start to feel that. Also, this divot, I know this is probably inspired by the Bushcraft Black, but it's too deep in there. So when I'm feather sticking, it doesn't feel as good as the other fingers. It just kind of feels like off balanced, a little wonky. So yeah, 6 out of 10 when it comes to comfort. As far as woodcraft, 8 out of 10. Of course, it's not the sharpest, the most scalpel-like Scandi grind I've ever used, but it did very well, as you saw it in action earlier. Game processing, I'm going to leave that as an NA, because honestly, I can't tell you. I'd estimated a 7 out of 10, but once again, that's theoretical, based on similar designs. As for maintenance, it's going to be a 6 out of 10 just because it is carbon steel. Carbon steel tends to rust and tarnish pretty quickly. You do got to take care of it, but, you know, just take care of it. The Scandinavian grinds also do require a little bit more maintenance in terms of, you know, in case it like chips and stuff like that, dings and dents, than say something like a Saber grind or something like that, convex grind. So it does require a little bit more maintenance, especially if you do have wooden handles like the curly maple one. This one is micarta, so I don't really got to worry about it too much. Just keep it dry. With that being said, folks, I hope I don't come off sounding too harsh or too critical over this blade. I do think it really is a great blade, not perfect, but it really is a great blade, and it's a really great looking blade at that. I do gotta say, I really dig the aesthetics, particularly that micarta scales, the micarta pattern. I think it looks really cool, and the blued finish. Really great. Great fit and finish. Great design. It just needs a couple little things to kind of, you know, elevate it. But other than that, it's really great. So one lucky viewer watching will be winning this knife next week. So if you're so inclined, if you really enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. and comment down below that you're in, and we will select a winner next week. Of course, you do have to be over 18, and in case you are, in another country, I just need to verify that we're not going to have any problems shipping internationally, with customs and stuff like that. Other than that, guys, good luck to everyone, and big shout out to viewer Neville Savage. He's a longtime Junkyard Fox viewer, and he actually donated this knife and several others to us earlier this year so we can test them, review them, and give them out to you guys, give them away. So big thank you, Neville, if you're watching. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate that. And good luck to everyone, guys. And if you're inclined to purchase one, if you don't want to wait and you really do like this blade, down below will be the link to our Amazon store. I recently realized that they do sell these on Amazon as well. So if you buy one there, it throws a couple cents our way so we can keep getting out here and cooking up some good potatoes. And that's about it for us, folks. We will see you guys next week with another video. Now go outside and get your boots dirty.